Coming up this week on the Course of Life podcast, tons more fallout and juicy gossip post-merger from the breaking news that shocked the world of golf, all as U.S. Open week arrives. And we had a wild Canadian Open finish and finishing tackle, which we'll get into. We're tuned into an update on Michael's puppy life, and also a past guest with a big moment as well on national television. And this week's guest, PGA Tour pro Dylan Wu, back on the show, friend of the show. He's in the U.S. Open field, and he was at that players meeting last week at the Canadian Open with Jay Monahan. He's spilling the details of it all. Plus, it's a sports anniversary and upcoming trip for our co-host when we always end with food. All of it brought to you by our friends at the LIV Take app. The LIV Take app is where we go to settle our debates, and it's where you can debate the hottest topics in sports as well and actually decide who wins. This isn't just a group text or a group chat conversation that goes nowhere. You, the person, and the viewer and the voter has the chance to vote and make your voice be heard and decide who wins these challenges, debating everything going on in the world of sports and pop culture. Myself and Michael are on there every week debating different topics, so you should get on there as well too. Challenge us, check out the LIV Take app, and download today.
Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Course of Life. We are proud to be presented by our friends at Desert Box Golf and the LIV Take app. I'm Michael, he's Alex. And Alex, I think we should go ahead and add in that we're also brought to you by the Public Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
Because they literally are going to own all the main male tours in the game of golf.
Yeah, well, we originally joked years ago that, everyone has a price, and I guess everyone really does have a price, is what we've learned the past week, right? Yeah,
pretty much we learned that the PGA Tour Board of Directors has absolutely no morals or ethics whatsoever, and all they want to do is get paid. And that's exactly what's happened here, even though Jimmy Dunn pretty much told us, no, I don't need the money. That's what he said on Golf Central. I don't need the money. But yes. I feel like after watching his interview and the fallout from all this, that Jimmy Dunn is full of shit.
I know there was some weird words exchange in these interactions, seeing Monahan and Yassir Al-Rumayyanto face to face after being such adversaries for so long in this entire feud and everything that's embroiled in the world of golf. The hypocrisy has been ringing through all week, even with the post-merger news that we've seen now about the details and exactly how things went down. And it's amazing, like you mentioned, just to do the year time lapse and think about where Jay Monahan's stance was at last year's Canadian Open to where he looks right now at this moment as we watch another Canadian Open go by.
Yeah, it's just kind of hilarious, the dichotomy between what happened last year at the RBC Canadian and then what happened this year. Not at the Canadian Open so much, but during it at least. And Jay Monahan being the big ass hypocrite that he is, and he admitted that he is to a certain extent. He'll take that criticism of him. But I'm curious, would you think, Alex, with this? I mean, the biggest thing that kind of I struggle with this whole deal, other than the hypocrisy, is how the PIF is going to own it. And whether or not whoever controls it, you go where the money is. It doesn't matter. And also, Yassir is now the chairman of the board. So Monahan, who will be this new CEO of this new co, will report to him.
Correct. Yes. It's two big bosses, but everyone in the room knows who the true boss is. And anyone who's been in any sort of employer-employee structure in like corporate work at all knows exactly what that feels like. When you've got two people you're reporting to, but everyone in the room knows the one that actually has the final say. That's exactly what's going on right here. Yeah,
and I'm just so baffled by the whole thing of it. And especially how blindsided the players were. I mean, Rory said it during his press conference. He feels like a sacrificial lamb, and that's exactly what it is. Is this good for the game of golf in the long term? I don't know.
I mean, I think it's good for golf fans and viewing the literal product, but there's a lot of things that are going to come with it that may cause a lot more question. I know the angle that you wanted to bring up was the sponsorship hypocrisy that was going on just as of recently on the PGA Tour. That would blew your mind when you found it out as well.
Yeah, it was just 4 weeks ago. Raytheon was trying to become the title sponsor of the Byron Nelson, and the PGA Tour said no because Raytheon sells military equipment to Saudi Arabia, and they thought it would be a bad look for the tour.
So he said that no, like literally as he was probably having breakfast and playing golf with Yassir in Venice, and they were working the whole kinks of this deal out. I mean, that's an unbelievable two-faced moment right there.
Yeah, this is just
recently, weeks ago, you said.
Hypocrisy galore. I think we should rename the PGA Tour the Hypocrisy Tour.
All right, great. Well, on the Hypocrisy Tour, like you said, it was 1 year from the last Canadian Open where we got that famous apology for being a member of the PGA Tour quote from Jay Monahan. Now, fortunately, this past week's Canadian Open also came through with great golf like the 2022 event did. Yes. So if nothing else, we are getting at least still that electric PGA Tour product, and Sunday was no different. What a finish.
That's right. First time in 69 years that a Canadian won their marquee event in the Canadian Open. And it came after what looked like both Nick Taylor and Tommy Fleetwood didn't want to win, really, is what it started to look like there as they played 18 twice, and then they played the par 3 ninth, and then finally got to 18 again. And I do want to talk about Nick Taylor, but can we just real quick say that Tommy Fleetwood is one of the most professional and most pro sportsmanship guys out there. The way he handled himself and congratulated Nick during the entire thing was just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, he's all class, Mike. But the problem is when you're a bettor out there and you have outright bets on Tommy Fleetwood to win a tournament on the PGA Tour, and you've been grinding this guy for years and he just can't pull through. I'm running out of sympathy for Tommy Fleetwood in these second place finishes. So I do appreciate his all class behavior in the loss. But yeah, I was sweating that one out all Sunday. So I had the Tommy Fleetwood card, and he was on my Run Your Pool article as my main pick all week. Could not get it across the line, and it was a fantastic finish. Like you mentioned, Nick Taylor, a 72-foot eagle putt.
Amazing.
And the celebration that ensued for 69 years of waiting for Canada to get its own to win a national championship was something.
And we've done a wellness check on Adam Hadwin after he was just completely tackled to the ground, just hardcore taken down by a security guard. I thought Canada was a friendly place, but I guess it's not really. So.
I know. So Adam Hadwin is a fellow Canadian on the PGA Tour, teammate, friend of Nick Taylor's. They play practice rounds together. He comes out with the champagne bottle, Mike, to spray his teammate. And all of a sudden, this security guard comes around the corner, Mike, and they've actually got the slow-mo NFL film style angle. So it makes it look like the security guard is Lawrence Taylor coming around the edge. You know what I mean? Coming in to sack the quarterback. It's got that classic feel. It's a form tackle, and Adam Hadwin got laid out quickly. The situation got figured out, and he was apologized to. Hadwin making many jokes of it after the fact. My only thought was, Mike, they do this all the time on the LPGA Tour, and the LPGA Tour girls love spraying the water bottles and champagne on their friends and teammates. I hope this never happens on the LPGA Tour. I just hope this never happens, because it was quite an embarrassing moment for event security there.
Yeah, it's just that was just bad luck all over. But Adam Hadwin's good. Nick Taylor, I mean, you can't win any better way than that on the fourth playoff hole at your country's Open Championship to be the first one to do it in 69 years. Just
crazy.
Longest putt, a 72-yard putt. Obviously that was Nick Taylor's longest putt of his career. I'm curious. And I haven't looked it up, what the longest putt to win a PGA Tour event has ever been.
The only one off the top of my head is there's an Ernie Els in Hawaii that was like very legit long. Oh, there's a Jim Furyk one as well, too. That's very long that you can find on YouTube, which is probably about 90, 100 feet somewhere in New York. Those are the only ones that are coming to the top of my head, but that's definitely a top 3 one. And that 18th hole where it finished, by the way, my most popular tweet of the weekend, Mike, was just saying, everyone on golf Twitter was bashing that 18th hole. Oh, it's a par 5. They moved it from par 4 to 5, and everyone's hitting 4 irons off the tee, and they don't know what to hit into for their second shot in the green. Yes, it's a PGA Tour course. we're supposed to make the game difficult. And everyone seemed to agree with me. So I enjoyed the kind of quirky 18th hole with the funny setup. And yeah, it's unfortunate the PGA Tour drivers have to complain about not being able to hit driver on every single par 5. But they dealt with a little adversity, and I think it made for a great closing hole in the end.
I have nothing wrong with making the PGA Tour pros play golf where you have to hit the ball in the right place.
Right. Point A, point B. You love that course. You love those courses.
I mean, this isn't about power. It's about control and accuracy. That's what it's about.
Indeed. Very impressive stuff from Nick Taylor. Again, shout out to Nick Taylor. First Canadian to win in 69 years. I kind of teased it in my article. I picked the wrong Canadians, though. I had Adam Svensson and Corey Connors, who had decent weeks, but nowhere near as good as Taylor, who's in history forever now.
Let's talk about the LPGA real quick. They had the ShopRite LPGA Classic. How would you like, it's 65 to finish out and win on tour for Ashleigh Buhai. Pretty good.
She's one of those players that is very feast or famine. And I was going to ask you this question when I saw she won, Mike. Would you rather just be a tour pro that just finishes like 25th, 30th, 35th every week? Or would you rather just like miss 5 cuts in a row and then just come through with a big win out of nowhere? What would you rather be?
That's a hard question to answer, actually, because would you rather make it feel like you don't belong, or would you rather feel like you're just average?
Right. Well, Ashleigh Buhai is the latter. She comes out of nowhere and wins big time events every once in a while, just when you start to forget about her name. So she's good for that, if nothing else. Another impressive performance from Buhai, getting another win in addition to the major championship she already has in women's golf as well.
That's right. She does have a major, winning the Women's British Open last August. So she is a major champion and now notches this on her belt. You know what? If my one win, though, if I was missing cuts, but my one win came at a major, I'd be okay with that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So, just saying. All right, let's look ahead. The Canadian Open is in the rear view. It's now time for the U.S. Open. They're in L.A. at L.A. Country Club.
Yep.
I mean, this whole event has a different shroud to it now that these LIV guys may, be here now in perpetuity. They may be able to keep coming back all the time.
Yep. We all have to be friends now.
Yep. So, what do we think here? What's going to happen?
Well, we start with the big 3 conversation. So Jon Rahm, Masters champion, 2021 U.S. Open champion, leading the betting odds. And then we've got Scottie Scheffler, who can't make a putt. And then we have Rory, who is just mentally exhausted from everything and seems to contend but can never win. We start with those 3 names, then you work your way down the field from there.
Can we just say, arguably, how impressive it was that Rory McIlroy did as well as he did at the Canadian Open after being, pretty much skewered, drawn and quartered by
being sacrificed,
Jay Monahan.
You mean?
Yeah. Top 10 finish. I mean,
I feel like he can do those in his sleep now. It's unbelievable how he can pull those out of a hat, pulling rabbits out of a hat. Rory's doing right now, but yeah, it's about winning for him, obviously at the major championship level. So honestly, the highlight of my Run Your Pool article, which you can see now for my full preview, is that I'm going outside the top names this week, Mike. I've got this weird fuzzy feeling we're going to get a bit of a surprise winner. It could be just a tier 2 star, a name I'm looking at that's kind of not on people's radar right now, but has the game to win a U.S. Open. Cam Smith, coming off a recent LIV Tour win, hasn't really played that great in majors. I don't know. He's been okay, but that's an example of a name that probably isn't in the top 10 for anyone's list right now. But I'm looking on page 2 for kind of a surprise winner this week for some reason.
Yeah, I don't think Matt Fitzpatrick is going to repeat. I don't think that's worth putting a dollar down.
That's fair. Right.
I feel like Jordan Spieth's game is starting to get back into shape, so maybe him. If Scottie can putt, he's going to win hands down. But I would go just one off those top 3 in the world rankings. I would go to Patrick Cantlay. His game has been really good. He's been just consistent as ever. And if he just, be patty ice through 4 rounds, I think he could finally do it.
I think there's some course experience. I know he's got Southern California golf experience there. And there's kind of a cohort of about 10, 15 guys in the field. Max Homa's part of that group that do have course experience. As to tease, this week's podcast guest has some course experience at LACC too as well. But Mike, ultra stuffy private venue here. It's like they're not quite Augusta level, but like this is one of those courses where after 6 p.m. you have to wear a sport coat in the clubhouse like that. So that's we're really pulling the veil back on a real private country club here this week.
Class.
I guess so. Yeah. So LA Country Club will be on full display. I had a great piece on celebrity golfers in Hollywood right now on runyourpool.com. Obviously the LIV storyline and the full betting preview. So you can check that all out on runyourpool.com.
All right, let's switch over to Tuned In, where we share what we're tuning into outside of the world of sports. I got a puppy update for you, Alex.
Oh, boy. All right. Leica the Beast. How we doing?
Leica was spayed this past week.
Oh, boy. Wow. The beginning of a new era for the pup.
Yeah, it is. So she was so out of it. She's finally, I think, in the last 24, 36 hours, maybe really come back. But it was kind of sad watching her in that first kind of 24-hour stretch where that anesthesia was still hitting her hard.
Yeah.
But she's running around. Yeah, she's not supposed to be jumping on furniture and stuff. But how do you get your dog to not jump on the furniture?
Right. Yeah. Hey, puppy, don't jump on furniture, please. Come on.
Yeah. But she's still wearing her puppy onesie that she's supposed to wear. This kind of like surgical onesie that she's wearing, which just kind of looks funny because it's stretched really bad. So it looks like she's got a full diaper or something going on.
The adult diaper action.
Yeah, it's going to be coming off probably in another couple days here.
Okay. Well, with each day, she should be fully closer towards the bend. So that's good.
Yes.
Let's talk about a past guest real quick. I was tuned into America's Got Talent, Mike. When's the last time you flipped through America's Got Talent? Probably been a while, right?
Let's say the last time I had cable television, which at this point was maybe 5-6 years ago.
Well, it was a while for me too. But admittedly, I had to be tuned in. A friend of ours and a friend of the show on America's Got Talent. Remember, we had country music singer Mitch Rossell on. I met him at the PGA show in Orlando. He was on America's Got Talent, obviously told the very emotional story, which he told in my interview. Be sure to check the archives for that one, about his new song, Son, obviously dedicated to his late father and also dedicated to his son as well, too. Howie Mandel, Heidi Klum, Sofia Vergara, and the always difficult Simon Cowell, Mike, as we know. 4 commanding yeses and a standing ovation for Mitch Rossell. So our boy is advancing to the next round of auditions on AGT. So be sure to tune in and check out that past interview from, I believe, February as well, where we tell his full story. So really cool to see Mitch thriving on AGT.
All right, let's get to this week's guest. He's coming back to the show. He's a good friend of ours, and he's qualified for this week's U.S. Open. But really, the highlight here, Alex, is that he was inside the room when Jay Monahan took a shellacking at the Canadian Open.
Yeah, this is like, I feel very Dateline NBC-ish right now. Like we should be putting the print on the bottom third being like, there were only 154 men in the players only meeting last week with Commissioner Jay Monahan. We spoke with one of them. I can't get any more suspenseful than that. Our boy Dylan Wu is here. He's very candid with us, and it's a great conversation coming your way.
It really is. We'll get to it in just a moment, but first, let's talk about our good friends at Desert Fox Golf. They got the phone caddy. They got the wonderful
Swing 8 tumbler.
They got towels.
All for events too.
All this great stuff.
Events.
It's great for events because you can get it in 80 number of colors, and they let you slap your logo on it as well. And Alex, they've got a great referral bonus going on right now as well.
It's very easy. If you have an event of 100 or more, you're buying 100 or more items from Desert Fox Golf. All you have to do is when you get in contact with them and you place that order, just tell them Course of Life sent you for your event or your gathering, and you're going to get a $100 referral bonus just for shopping with them. So they're great friends of ours. They're great in the golf industry, and they're great for large-scale golf events. So be sure to check out everything Desert Fox Golf can do for your next golf gathering or event. Next up on the show, he's a recurring guest that we're glad to have back on the show, PGA Tour pro, who's also a newlywed, and he's got the roller coaster of emotions going on right now as we talk to him. It's Dylan Wu joining us on the Course of Life. Dylan, how we doing?
Hey, Alex, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. It's been a while since we last spoke, but just to catch people up on your life, last time we talked, you're on the Corn Ferry Tour, so things have changed, and you're obviously on the big tour now, but you recently got married as well, too. I got to ask, what was the best wedding gift that you're maybe still using? Me and my wife have an air fryer that we live and die by every day. I'm curious what's getting put to use from the wedding gifts for you.
Well, that's a good question. I have to think about that for a second. I'm trying to think of the best. Oh, we got a really nice Nespresso machine from one of my friends in Oregon that it actually got sent to the house pretty early. Margaret uses it every day. So that's probably the thing that's something I can remember right now. I mean, I think everybody loves cash, so I think that was probably the best gift.
Yes.
But no, the Nespresso machine was probably the number one used thing so far.
And you guys had like a dream European honeymoon. I saw some images of French pastries and some sort of market that looked like it was like out of like a Hallmark Christmas movie. But tell everyone where specifically you guys went on the honeymoon.
Yeah, we started off in Paris for 4 days, then spent 4 days in Germany, one city called Stuttgart, and then 3 days in Munich. And then we went to Zurich for a day, and then spent 4 days in Zermatt, Switzerland, near the Matterhorn, and then a couple days in Interlaken, Switzerland. So it was an awesome trip. My wife and I, when we were living in Chicago at the time before moving to Scottsdale, we loved going to the Christmas market downtown, the Christkindl market. It's like a German Christmas market. You drink blue wine, and there's a lot of makeshift kind of like stores that like sell different like Christmas stuff, and it's from Germany. So we wanted to go over there and see that. So we went to a couple of them in Paris, went to a couple in Germany, and a couple in Switzerland. So it was awesome. It was great. It was definitely a kind of a nice winter trip. I feel like with golf, you play in the heat and humidity all the time. I feel like I'm constantly sweating in the sun. So kind of wanted to go on like a cooler honeymoon.
Definitely.
Just because we go on such warm trips in general. But it was really, really fun. I loved it. I think Switzerland's my favorite country in the world I've ever been to. Yeah,
and so Zermatt specifically, describe where that was in relation to like the extreme elevation and the Alps and everything like that. I've only seen it in photos, but obviously you got to experience it firsthand.
Yeah, it's not that big. It's basically like a mountain town. There's no cars there allowed. So you take the train up there, and like there's like golf carts basically that take you around. But it's super cool. The Matterhorn's right there. You take like a bullet train. Basically, it's like on a ski resort, mountain town kind of. So you kind of take like ski lifts up, and then you can ski around. I didn't ski. My wife wouldn't let me. My family wouldn't let me. But no, it's amazing. I mean, it's just breathtaking views. Nice. I think Switzerland's like not only one of the cleanest and nicest countries, it's like one of the most breathtaking countries. So I want to go back in the summertime just to see it in the summer, because people love winter and summer, and I've heard good things about both. So no, it was awesome. Yeah,
looks like a once in a lifetime type of trip. Really glad you got to experience that. All right, let's get to the golf now. We're recording on the Wednesday before U.S. Open week, but everyone right now is listening to this during U.S. Open week. The week started off on Monday for you with the longest day in golf, which you're very familiar with. Kind of old hat for you at this point. Just talk me through the mindset going into that day at 36 holes.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely something you don't really prepare for in professional golf anymore. I mean, it's more like college golf. You kind of get used to playing 36 holes sometimes. But yeah, I decided to play in Springfield, Ohio this year. I played in Maryland the last 2 years.
Right. Okay.
I had a chance of getting in Memorial. So like when I looked at the sites, I kind of wanted to go to a site that had more spots, and it was closer to Toronto for the RBC. Then also maybe there was a chance I got into Memorial that you'd be close to it. And I played Springfield in college once when I was a junior, and I played the one in Columbus once when I was a senior. But no, it was definitely just try to treat it like kind of a normal tournament. I mean, 36 holes is a lot to do in one day. But yeah, I got in Saturday night to Columbus, played a practice on Sunday, and just kind of just made sure I rested and had enough snacks and fuel, and just you just have to stay patient the entire day. I feel like that's the day that takes even more patience than a normal round of golf.
Now Dylan, you're a big food guy. I'm curious, what's the food allotment across 36 holes? How do you space that out? Do you go one big meal in between the 18s, or are you eating every few holes? What do you like to do?
Yeah, so I'll eat breakfast beforehand, and then my tea time was at 9 a.m. I was like one of the last tea times.
Okay.
So I eat breakfast in the morning, and I just pack a bunch of snacks. I try to eat every probably 5 to 6 holes. A bar, nuts, pretty much anything, fruit, banana, anything like that to kind of help me sustain my energy. And then after the midpoint eating lunch, if I'm still going to play golf, I don't ever eat like a big lunch. I'm honestly healthier when I'm on the golf course or before playing or after playing.
Right.
I'm really healthy. Like I eat salads and everything. So I ate like a turkey sandwich it's just a simple turkey sandwich for lunch at the clubhouse there with just lettuce and everything like that. And then I just try to eat like bars or jerky like every 6 to 9 holes just to kind of fuel the energy.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it figured out at this point. You got a pretty good routine with this 36 holes. For better or for worse, you keep putting yourself in this position, but you keep coming out the right end, I guess.
Exactly. No, there's definitely a lot of kind of routine that you go through. You just kind of get the same snacks you like, and some things that are easier to go down and quicker to go down. Like I like to eat a lot of almond butter too. It's an easy, quick snack. It's kind of just like a gel, not like a gel, but like just peanut butter. You can just easily eat in 2 seconds, and that gives you some energy, especially maybe when it's hot and humid out.
Good tip, indeed. So you made it through not only the 36, but the playoff, and a nice let's go moment from you with the birdie putt to eventually get you in. Tell me about the emotion pouring out there. I know you're typically a little bit more of a reserve player out there, but it was good to see that volume from you in the moment.
Yeah, it was definitely kind of came out of nowhere when I made the putt. The course is very, very tricky at Springfield. The greens are they're like probably the most severe greens I've ever played in my life. Like you have a chance to putt it off like 5 to 7 greens. Like it's kind of pretty dumb.
Jeez.
Like how the course is set up. It's just like impossible. Like there's some holes where if you're 5 feet above the hole and you hit it, you barely touch it, it's going 30 feet by. Like it's a little unfair in that sense. And in the playoff, I made birdie, made like an 8-footer, 9-footer for birdie. And honestly, when I saw it go in, I don't know why I screamed "Let's go" so loud. It kind of came out of nowhere, but I think it's just I was playing well. Then I doubled hole 7, my third to last hole, because I had 25 feet and I missed it barely high, and it rolled and went off the green, and I had a 40-yard chip shot. And I'm like, how is that even possible? So I didn't even think I had a bad putt, and I was just like, I think just what happened there, and then just to get through on the 3-for-2 playoff meant a lot. I knew I really wanted to play in the U.S. Open, not only just to play in my second major, but just to add another event to the schedule. So, no, it was definitely a very good grind 2 days ago. And no, it's definitely a lot of hard work, and glad to get through.
Yeah, it was a fun ride in 2021 for those who remember at Torrey Pines, the Woo crew out in full force, and we'll obviously see them again at Los Angeles Country Club. So this is a newish venue for most golf fans who haven't seen it, but I understand you got a little bit of experience with the course. Tell me about your background with Los Angeles Country Club.
Yeah, luckily when I was at Northwestern, one of my teammates, Peter Griffith, who's a year younger than me, was a member at LACC. So I haven't played it in a couple of years, but I've played it probably maybe 7-8 times. So I'm looking forward to going back there. So I've definitely at least know the looks of the hole, know the design of the course. Of course, it's going to be different when you get there for US Open setup and everything like that. But no, looking forward to going somewhere where I actually at least know a little bit about. So now being from the West Coast, it's always good to play back in the West Coast. Easier for my family to travel. So I'm looking forward to the U.S. Open next week.
Nice. And I had a question. Do we have official Woo Crew merch? Are we working at, or has that been made, or where are we at with that?
My wife's family is a pretty big family. They're from like between Chicago and Quad Cities, and they her dad's one of 10 siblings, and they basically make Woo Crew shirts like in purple, Western purple. They've had it the last couple of years. Not yet, but I could see it hopefully in the future as I hopefully keep on trying to get a little bit better every year. But no, there's definitely I definitely get more shouts for Woo a lot this year on tour. So it's been fun.
Just rolls off the tongue nicely, I gotta admit. So it's easy to shout when you're out there. All right, we took 10 minutes and I buried the lead. Let's obviously talk about the elephant in the room story with everything going on and the merger of the PGA Tour, PIF, LIV Tour, and DP World Tour all coming together. Dylan Woo, just, your first reaction when you opened your phone and you saw the news Tuesday morning of the merger.
Yeah, surprising is an understatement for sure. Like, I was walking to the PT trailer yesterday. My clubs didn't make it from Columbus here, so I was like, I'm just going to hang out on the PT trailer and just rest until my clubs get here at night and just take an off day, basically. And Nick Hardy actually messaged me. He's like, check your email. I'm like, what? And then I checked my email and I started reading it while I'm walking to the PT trailer. And there's like 6 other guys in there. I'm like, reading it more and more. I'm like, guys, I think the PGA Tour and LIV are merging. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like, what are you smoking? There's like,
yeah.
Like, this got to be a joke. And I'm like, no, I'm reading more. I'm like, guys, check your email. And honestly, the first reaction was just like, wow. Like, I think it's because the tour has had such a strong stance against LIV The past year and a half and 2 years, you have Rory being a spokesperson basically and having just kind of two separate entities, honestly, like kind of coexisting, at least the last couple months.
They were.
Where the PGA Tour has been honestly in a very strong spot with their designated events, all the changes kind of in response to LIV, with the elevated events being higher purses to match the LIV purses. And just to see that we're merging with them was definitely very, very surprising. I mean, we had a player meeting yesterday at 4:00, and there were a lot. That's probably the biggest player meeting I've been to, at least in the past year and a half, 2 years, like 100 to 120 players in there, and a lot of very, very angry players. I don't think anybody was really happy in the room. A lot of questions, still a lot of questions not answered. But it was a very, very weird day. I mean, I had the longest day of golf, the longest day in golf on Monday, and then yesterday was not much different. I mean, just mentally with what's going to happen in the future. So it's still hard to grasp what's going to happen. We're at the very beginning of it. So we'll see what's going to happen in the future.
Yeah. So obviously the buzz gets going with the players when the news comes down on the range and in the player meeting. I'm curious, just from a majority perspective, what are the most common unanswered questions from the players right now?
I think the biggest thing we learned yesterday was that it's more of just like right now the framework. It's like very basic framework between PGA Tour and LIV partnership. Like there's no details yet. That's going to be like a full process of like what's going to happen with that. So like there's not many questions that can be answered. Like how much is the public investment fund going to invest in the PGA Tour? Like the PGA Tour is still going to run everything, as Jay was saying, and have a full majority over its whatever it wants to do in the future. But there's going to be like a commercial side, for-profit side for PGA Tour, and then also the non-profit side that they're keeping. So it's like it's kind of just changing the way the organization is going to run. Like all the sponsorship dollars and revenue is going to go into the for-profit side, and all the administrative and rules and regulation will go into the non-profit side. And that's going to be the same thing for the PGA Tour, DP World Tour, or LIV. So there's just a lot of also questions like why now? And I think honestly, in my opinion, there's a chance like some of the litigation battle could have been not necessarily going in the way the PGA Tour wanted, where it was probably going to be dragged out for a long time.
Right.
And costing a lot of money from the reserves and money that essentially could have maybe gone to players in purse or whatever. But some stuff that like couldn't really be talked about is probably the reason why like this merger kind of happened out of the blue. Just because you can't really ask about the details of a court case and stuff like that. But it seems like that had to have some role in play into this rash decision basically yesterday morning. But the sentiment in the room was just, people were just very angry. Like, why now? Like, why are we doing this? Like, what's it going to look like for LIV players to come back? Like, what's the process going to be like that? Like, and it's like, honestly, it's going to be up to like Jay and the board. It's like the players, I think, will have lost a lot of trust in not only Jay, but just the higher ups in the PGA Tour. It's like they say that we're a player-run organization or whatever. Players have a say, and it doesn't feel like that at all. Especially when no player knew anything about it. So
the hypocrisy at its finest that you mentioned on Twitter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a crazy world in golf. We thought this past year and a half was crazy. Now it's like everything that was said about like, oh yeah, LIV is terrible. Like the PGA Tour is all about legacy. Like once you leave, you won't be welcome back. And I'm like, it's been a year. You're basically going to welcome them back or give them a pat. It's somewhat in the future now that there's a partnership. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. Like I think the other side of it too is like, should we be apologizing now for being on the PGA Tour and playing? Like we're golfers at the end of the day, but like now this money that we are playing for could be tied to Saudi money and say immorally things that are attached to 9/11 and everything like that. So it's definitely, you got that side of it there, and that's some reason why some players didn't leave is because of where the money came from, and it's just like there's a lot of variables now and information that's been out there, so there's still a lot of questions. There's still a lot of unknown that's going to happen in the future.
Absolutely. In terms of the meeting itself, I know some players spoke up, and let's keep this about the players for a moment. I know there were some players who spoke up very poignantly. Just from your opinion, who maybe had the best words in the players meeting, or something most poignant that resonated with you, from a player's perspective?
I feel like Mav McNeely and Doc Redman were probably the things that I could remember the most. Mav was just wondering like why, like the PGA Tour could have easily raised $2 billion or whatever, as much money they want to in the U.S. Like, why did we have to go to the Public Investment Fund for money necessarily? And like how he asked questions on like how the PGA Tour would operate with this new form of having a non-profit side and profit side. Like, it's going to be completely different.
Right.
And like Jay didn't really have great answers to it and everything like that because it's the very beginning of it. And then Doc was basically saying like he got like slight standing ovation claps because the PGA Tour has made all these changes the past year and a half. And we're kind of heading in a great direction. Like, I think a lot of people thought the PGA Tour, like, the response was strong.
Absolutely.
And everything was going in the right direction. And just to have all this happen and decision that the players knew nothing about, like, just completely lost the trust of all the players. And I think that's just something that you're going to see even more. I feel like it's even more divided now between the players and the high execs. It's like the players really don't have any say in what we do, which is definitely, I mean, not great when the PGA Tour, like all the execs say like, oh yeah, we give players a say. We have a player advisory council and everything. I'm like, that's the biggest crap ever. Like, those guys the players just have no say. Like, our opinion might matter sometimes, but like when it comes down to like big decisions about our livelihood and our tour, like they leave it up to business execs and Jay and now the governor of the PIF. So it's crazy.
Definitely, yeah, I know, and I feel like a guy like Billy Horschel who just goes hours and days and burns the midnight oil on that advisory board. You know, he probably feels pretty slighted himself right now with this whole news. Yeah. On a lighter note, I guess let's talk about what that path might look like. You've been through the path, you know what it's like. Are these LIV guys gonna get a couple exemptions? Are they gonna work their way up through the Corn Ferry Tour? Are we about to see the craziest Corn Ferry fields ever? What do you think that might look like for them?
I don't know. Yeah, there's supposed to be like a disciplinary like pathway back where it kind of goes through Jay's approval and everything like that. And okay. I'm like, there's no like formal way yet. From yesterday's conversation at the meeting, it seems like 2023, like both schedules in the PGA Tour and LIV Golf will play out. And he says he doesn't see a likelihood of players from LIV coming back to play in 2024, but we'll see what happens. I don't know what the path is going to look like. Kind of sucks for all the guys that were offered money that didn't go. And then if LIV players are able to come back easily, like say like Brooks Koepka, who just won the PGA, technically if he was on the PGA Tour, he'd be exempt for 5 years. Yeah. Like, and if he was taken back, so like he could take $150 million and then come back and play on the PGA Tour where he can make a bunch of money. It's not fair to the top players that stay. And so it's like there's still so much up in the air. I don't know what's going to happen yet.
One fun thing you did talk about on Twitter was given the credit and the hat tip where it's due to our boy Phil Mickelson. Now, listen, we can all admit, and we've talked about Phil a lot in the last couple of years, he may not have gone about everything he's done in the most, poignant or accurate way, but I'll be darned, hashtag Phil was right is pretty alive and well right now. Just what's your overall sentiment to Phil Mickelson and his position as it stands in the world of golf this last year or two?
For sure. I think you hit the nail there. Like, I definitely think Phil maybe didn't say things in the right manner to get his point across. But honestly, like, everything he said was right. Like, you just see the landscape of professional golf now. It's like without LIV, honestly, the threat of competition, like the PGA Tour probably wouldn't have changed.
Never.
And now we're playing for more money. The product is getting better for fans. The designated events are working. And it's crazy. Like, now I don't even know what's going to happen in the future now. It's just, I think everything he said was pretty spot on there. And the funny thing is, like, yeah, the PGA Tour probably wouldn't have made any of these changes if he didn't say any of this stuff. It's like the PGA Tour was fine having hundreds and over $300 million at one point before in reserves just sitting there instead of growing the purses more and having the players honestly make more money as golf has been thriving since COVID, honestly. So yeah, I think he's been spot on, and I just feel like some of the other golf media haven't been spot on. Kind of been taking that moral high ground of like the Saudi and 9/11 and like how it's dirty money, and then now the PGA Tour is going to be part of that, and all these companies, these Fortune 500 companies that partner and sponsor with all sports, all companies really do money deals with the Saudis. So it's like everything just being very hypocritical. Honestly, it's like you can't necessarily, you don't really know where your dollar is coming from, no matter where you work at sometimes. And it's like some things are out of your control, but at some point you can't just take the high ground as if your company is doing the same thing, or decides to do the same thing in the future. Like if you stand with the high moral ground, like you kind of have to stay that path, and you can't change it. And the fact that it was changed is just, it's weird, because like now do we have to apologize for playing on the PGA Tour? And it's just another component being added to it. Yeah,
it's a messy situation overall, but I appreciate you taking the time to clarify the player's perspective. I know you got a lot going on, so we'll let you go. But Dylan, best of luck with everything this week at Los Angeles Country Club. We're honorarily part of the Woo Crew, and we'll be following along. So good luck with the rest of the summer, major championship season, and the rest of your tour year as well.
Perfect. Thanks, Alex.
And we're back. Great chat there with Dylan. Utter crap is what he called the Player Advisory Council. That is something that I think is just horrible to look at, is how little the players have in terms of power when a decision like this is made that directly affects them. And I said this to you before we started recording even. The players are not employees of the PGA Tour. They are independent contractors, so you can't treat them like they have nowhere else to go. They don't have anywhere else to go anymore.
They did, and some of them exercise that right and come out $100 million richer. So,
do we think? I mean, we didn't talk about this before. I think you repair this relationship with these players by really making sure you punish the guys that went to LIV, or at least making them less full. I don't know how you do that. We've heard about fines. Yeah. We've heard fines. We've heard that the guys who stuck around are going to get equity stake in the new company. I don't know how you fix it, but I think that's how you need to try to repair a relationship to a certain extent. Again, money solves all problems. That's right. How do you pay the guys who stuck around their money that they were owed?
Now, it was very candid stuff from Dylan, and I appreciated him hopping on. Obviously, it's funny, I hit him up the day before everything went down because he qualified for the U.S. Open. I was like, Dylan, you're in again. Let's talk about it. And then as the next 24 hours went on, the whole world of golf shifted. So we had a whole other conversation to have there, but it was really great getting his perspective. And he's spot on. We echo his sentiments as a player. He couldn't have said it more clearly that they're feeling a little used and abused right now with the way everything went on. But it's a relationship that, like you said, can get repaired over time. We'll see. Thanks again for Dylan for hopping on. And by the way, Mike, 600 to 1 odds on Dylan to win this week. I'm putting $1 down on that. That could pay a lot of bills for a lot of people.
Put $1 down for me too while you're at it.
Okay, great. So it's 2 to win 1,200 this week. Yeah, and we are official Woo Crew members. I was bugging him about the merch, so hopefully we get a shirt sometime soon. Dylan, you heard that, right? Okay.
I like it. And if you like that conversation with Dylan plus everything else we do here on this podcast, please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Give us a rating, 4 stars, 3 stars. If you're triggered by everything we say and you're still here, then go ahead and give us 1 star. I mean, at least you gave us something. I appreciate everything you give us. I just want to be given things that are not from the Saudis. So stars come from the podcast apps and you, the listeners.
I was wondering how you're going to spend that. Very well done
to me. Yeah. We're on Instagram as well. COL Podcast, Course of Life, Alex, MWRINC. We're on Twitter too, Course of Life 1 and MWRINC. We're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio, all those cool places. And you can check all our food content on AlwaysEndWithFood on Instagram as well. Some cool pics going up there. We'll talk more about some things you may see there in a minute. But first, Alex, I'm going to give you the floor. Your Red Sox beat my Yankees this weekend. Didn't sweep us, but you won the series. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, and that's the only reason why this could possibly make the podcast, is I just wanted you to say that we got 2 out of 3 from the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. And in the grand scheme of things, it's really not meaning a whole hell of a lot, because this AL East, Mike, for anyone who's watching any tidbit of baseball this season, the AL East might be the greatest division in the history of divisions in the history of baseball. I'll just say that. I'm just saying that right now.
I got to pull up the standings real quick here, because the last time I looked, the worst team in the AL East was still the
Boston Red Sox.
Was still though. Okay, they're at 500 now. They would be tied for the best in the AL Central.
Yes, they would.
So it's just like the worst team in the AL East is as good as the best team in the AL Central.
I think there's a weird, crazy, messed up world because everything is backwards these days in sports, where 4 or 5 teams from this division could get in the playoffs. I don't even know how that's mathematically possible, but they're going to damn well try in the next few months.
The wild card right now is Baltimore, Yankees, and Houston. Blech. So
we're trying. Unbelievable stuff in the AL East, though. Good to see the Red Sox and the Yankees back at it. And just had to get that tidbit in, of course. But shout out to the AL East, because we're treading uphill, winning all sorts of games, and we're still in dead last. So long way to go.
We also got to do a little update to our Division I men's ice hockey national champions, Quinnipiac Bobcats.
That happened.
By the way, that happened. I'm still reveling in that moment. I still wear my Quinnipiac Bobcats shirts. I wear my championship shirts. I wear my championship hat that I got as well. Bobcats were in Washington, D.C. today at the White House for a College Champions Day. Great pics of them on the South Lawn there in front of the White House. Just incredible.
Probably as close as what any Quinnipiac Bobcat's going to come to working in the White House, maybe. If I'd say.
Don't own me on this, but I feel like there's probably a Bobcat somewhere in the White House. I
think there might be. I'll do 5 minutes of research after we hop on and see if I can find one for you. There we go. There's always the alumni connection, but great to see the national champions on the lawn there.
For now, let's hashtag always end with food.
Yes, food segment to end every Course of Life podcast. It's an anniversary, actually, a sports anniversary that just went by, Mike. The Michael Jordan flu game anniversary. We're 25 years removed. The famous flu game where Michael was sick in Utah and then delivered the performance of a lifetime to win another NBA championship to continue his 6th championship legacy. Fun facts, food-related facts that have emerged from the flu game, Mike. He actually got sick from a Pizza Hut pizza, extra pepperonis. What would your Pizza Hut pizza order be back in the day?
Back in the day, it was probably sausage.
Yeah.
That's what extra I kind of always went with.
Extra pepperonis for Jordan. Got him sick, food poisoning. That's how the flu game originated. And then the other fun fact is he gave away his shoes to a ball boy after the performance. And we learned about Michael Jordan's pregame snack, Mike. So Michael Jordan, peak athlete, late 90s, top of his game, GOAT, greatest basketball player on earth, pregame snack, applesauce on top of graham crackers. Have you ever tried that before?
No, I've done peanut butter on graham crackers. I went through a phase where that was my lunch for weeks in elementary school.
Peanut butter and graham crackers is great. I've never seen applesauce on graham crackers, but lo and behold, the GOAT did it in the prime of his career. So it might be worth trying out there, I guess.
Yep. So we'll see. You never know. This week, I'm doing a little vacation. Mother's coming to town, and the 3 of us with the wife are headed up to Charleston, just 2 hours north of here. So, there's going to be some food being enjoyed up there in Charleston. So I'm excited for it. We're looking for some bakeries too. There's a place up there we're going to go to. It looks like we're going to a Latin place, a Mediterranean place. We'll see what else we get to enjoy while we're there. And we're going to be at a B&B, so I'm sure we'll have some good breakfast while we're there too.
As a fellow baker, when you're looking at a bakery in another market, are you going to the bakery just because it's generally well lauded across the board or popular? Or are you going to find some specific pastry or something that they make in there that you're intrigued by? What would you say?
It's more I want to go to the places that other people say are good because I want to compare what good is there to what I am pretty sure is good. I've been to some where it's like, oh yeah, and then you get it and you bring it home and you're like, this is not that great.
Okay.
So this one place that I'm looking to go into, Brown's Court in Charleston, I've heard very good things about, including from the other bakers in my bakery. So if my bakery is saying good things about them, that's usually a good sign.
That's the intra-industry thing, definitely. Like if you work at a restaurant and you hear the other servers saying, oh yeah, this is where we go after work. That's where you go after work.
Exactly.
I totally get that. Love that. All right. So always end with food on Instagram. If you want to follow, check out that content from the next week. Follow along on socials for Course of Life. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.